Have you ever seen someone so underestimated that the whole room stopped breathing when they finally showed what they could do? This isn't just a story about a shooting range. It's a story about quiet strength, hidden skill, and the day a U.S. Navy SEAL handed over his rifle. And history was made that you're watching Grow for Justice, where we bring you stories that reveal the power of courage, equality, and truth. Don't forget to subscribe right now and tell us where you're watching from in the comments, because this one's going to give you chills. The sun was rising over the Mojave training grounds, painting the sand with orange fire. The air smelled of oil, gunpowder, and grit, everything you'd expect from a place where warriors sharpened their aim and their minds. Rows of paper silhouettes lined the range, bullet holes clustered neatly in the center mass. A group of Navy SEALs stood talking, laughing, swapping gear, their voices low but confident. Off to the side, carrying a clipboard and a box of replacement targets, was her. Her name was Maya Torres, 22 years old, quiet, and often overlooked. She wasn't in uniform. She wasn't part of the team. She was a civilian maintenance assistant, responsible for cleaning brass, patching bullet holes, and making sure the targets were replaced before the next firing drill. It wasn't glamorous work, but Maya didn't mind. It paid the bills, and she loved being close to the sound of the range, the echo of discipline, the rhythm of control. Every day, she watched these elite soldiers practice. Their precision fascinated her. But no one paid her much attention beyond a polite nod or quick instruction. They didn't know she had grown up shooting in her father's backyard range, a retired sheriff who had taught her to fire a rifle before she could ride a bike. Her calm, focus, and perfect breathing were second nature. But on this base, she was invisible. That morning, the SEALs were testing new recruits, grueling drills under blazing heat. One of the instructors, a broad-shouldered man named Chief Dalton, barked orders with a voice that could slice through steel. "Targets up," he shouted. Maya hurried to replace the shredded silhouettes, stapling new sheets onto the wooden stands. As she turned back, she noticed one of the recruits struggling. His shots were wide, his hands trembling. The others snickered quietly. Dalton's eyes flicked toward Maya. "You good with that stapler, miss?" he asked, teasingly. She nodded. "Yes, sir." He smirked. "Good. Don't get too close when these boys start firing. Wouldn't want a stray bullet to ruin your day." The men laughed. Maya smiled politely, pretending not to care. But deep down, something inside her stirred. Not anger, just quiet resolve. When the break came, the SEALs set down their weapons, stretching and rehydrating. Maya stayed behind, collecting target frames and sweeping brass. Then she noticed something, a rifle left unattended on the table. It was beautiful, matte black, custom scope, precision barrel. The weapon of someone who knew exactly what they were doing. Her fingers itched. She glanced around. No one was watching. She picked it up, checked the safety, sighted downrange. Her body moved instinctively, aligning her stance the way her father had drilled her. Feet shoulder-width apart, weight balanced. Exhale, squeeze. The rifle cracked once. The shot punched dead center through the target's bullseye at 300 yards. A second shot followed, then a third. All perfect. Behind her, a voice broke the silence. "Who authorized you to touch that weapon?" Maya froze. Chief Dalton stood a few feet away, his arms crossed. The laughter from earlier was gone. Around him, several SEALs had gathered, curiosity sparking in their eyes. Maya lowered the rifle carefully, her pulse racing. "I'm sorry, sir. I was just—" Dalton walked over, picked up the rifle, looked at the grouping, and then looked back at her. "Those were your shots." She nodded hesitantly, that he raised an eyebrow. "You ever trained before?" "My dad taught me," she said quietly, "but nothing professional." One of the younger SEALs chuckled. "Yeah, right. Nobody hits like that first try." Dalton ignored him. Instead, he handed the rifle back to Maya. "Show me again." The entire range fell silent. A civilian girl being invited to shoot in front of Navy SEALs? Unheard of. But there she was, standing tall, adjusting her stance again, her hands steady despite the eyes burning holes in her back. She inhaled, aimed, and fired. Bang. Bullseye. Bang. Bullseye. Bang. Bullseye. By the third shot. The group had gone completely quiet. Even the wind seemed to pause. Dalton stepped forward slowly, squinting through his binoculars. Then, without a word, he lowered them and gave her the faintest smile. He turned to his men. "Gentlemen, I think we've been outshot." A ripple of laughter broke out, not mocking this time, but stunned and impressed. The man who had mocked her earlier looked away, embarrassed. Dalton approached Maya, extending his hand. "Ma'am," he said, "that's the cleanest grouping I've seen all week. Care to tell us where you learned that trigger control?" She smiled softly. "My dad used to say the rifle doesn't care who you are, it only listens to your heartbeat." Dalton nodded slowly, letting the words sink in. Then, in a move that would be remembered by everyone there, he took off his own SEAL patch and handed it to her. "You earned this today." The crowd erupted in applause. It wasn't about gender. It wasn't about rank. It was about respect. From that day on, Maya was no longer just the girl who replaced targets. She became part of the range's unofficial legend. The civilian who shot like a SEAL, the one who reminded them that skill doesn't wear a uniform. Weeks later, a letter arrived addressed to her from the U.S. Navy. Inside was a formal invitation, Civilian Marksmanship Program, honorary participant. It was rare, almost unheard of. Her story had traveled through whispers, and now she was being asked to demonstrate her precision at a national training event. When she walked onto that field months later, dressed simply in jeans and a windbreaker, the same SEAL who had handed her his rifle stood waiting. "You ready to show them again?" he asked. Maya smiled. "Always." She took her place, adjusted her stance, and when the signal came, she fired. The crowd watched as her shots cut through the air with surgical perfection, each one striking true. When the last bullet hit center, the audience rose to their feet. The applause was thunderous. Dalton leaned over and said quietly, "You didn't just earn respect today, Maya. You reminded us why we fight for people like you." Tears welled in her eyes. For years, she had been invisible, unseen, unheard. But now, under the open sky, she stood tall, not just as a woman with a rifle, but as a symbol of what happens when quiet strength is finally recognized. And as the sun set over the field, the glint of the SEAL patch still on her jacket, one truth echoed louder than any gunshot. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it whispers between heartbeats, waiting for its moment to be seen. The next time someone doubts you, remember Maya Torres. She was just replacing targets, until the day she changed what everyone believed, that you've been watching grow for justice, where true courage and justice find their voice. If this story inspired you, subscribe right now, and tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. We love seeing how far these stories reach, from coast to coast, from every corner of the world, because every act of courage deserves to be shared.